March is a beautiful time in the garden, and I'm very excited about my March favorite 5. This is the video where I share my 5 favorite things that are growing and tell you a little bit about each one. Stay tuned till the end, and I'll also share 5 things that I'm planting this month. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden, and I garden in Mesa, Arizona in Zone 9B. And I love sharing garden inspiration and helpful tips so you can be successful in your garden. Carrots are definitely at the top of my list. Most of these carrots were planted back in October, and this is the month where they really come into peak production. I planted almost all Sugar Snacks carrots this year. This is a variety that is sweet and delicious and grows nice and long. We really love eating these carrots fresh, and they also store very well. Late September, early October is my favorite time to plant carrots, and those are the ones that we're harvesting right now. During the warmer months, it can be tricky to get them to germinate. That's when I love putting a layer of burlap down that helps hold in the moisture and allows the carrots to germinate. One of the most important things you can do when growing carrots is to thin them. If carrots are sown too thickly and are growing too close together, you will get a lot of small carrots. Carrots also grow best with consistent moisture. Luckily, this winter we have had plenty of rain, and I've only had to run my watering grids a couple of times. And finally, another great thing about carrots is that you can leave them in the ground until you're ready to harvest them. But once temperatures begin heating up, it's best to pull all of your carrots because they will turn bitter once the temperatures get hot. If you look around my garden during March, it's easy to spot my second choice, Ranunculus. I first started planting Ranunculus a few years ago and was hooked. They are now a spring staple in my garden. I didn't think it was possible to grow such gorgeous blooms here in Arizona, but I'm glad I was wrong. The rose-like blooms almost don't look real. They come in nearly every color on beautiful stems. Ranunculus are a cool season flower planted from corms. They look like mini octopus. So you can plant them a couple of different times here in the low desert. I like to plant mine during the month of October, and then you get the earliest blooms. So those October planted corms will typically bloom for about 6 weeks. And if you plant them in the spring, they'll bloom for a little bit shorter, about 4 weeks, depending on the weather. Once temperatures heat up, the blooms stop. They really don't like the heat. Ranunculus makes an excellent cut flower. I love leaving some in the garden, bringing some indoors, and sharing with friends. Here in the low desert, keep plants harvested to encourage more blooms. If you're going to harvest as a cut flower, cut the buds just before they open when they're squishy like a marshmallow. At the end of the blooming season, the plants are going to begin to yellow and die back. If you want to save the corms to plant again the next year, you're going to need to let those plants die back completely and put all that energy back into some new corms, which you're then going to harvest once those plants die back, store over the summer, and then plant out next fall. My next favorite for March is another flower, Strawflowers. Strawflowers are a beautiful addition to the garden, and I'm really loving these dwarf strawflowers that I planted for the first time. In previous years, I've planted a longer stemmed strawflower, which are beautiful in cut arrangements, but they were a little bit tricky in the garden because the stems were so tall and the plants were so large. This dwarf variety of strawflowers is just right. Lots and lots of blooms, and I can enjoy them right in the garden. If you touch the petals on a strawflower, it's easy to see how the strawflower gets its name. Strawflowers are heat-loving and drought-tolerant. Strawflowers grow best when you plant them in the cooler months, giving them time to get established before the heat of summer arrives. I also love saving the seeds from strawflowers to plant again the next season. Another flower or group of flowers is making it into my March favorite 5, wildflowers. Wildflowers are beautiful during the month of March. Here are some of my favorite wildflowers that are blooming right now. Most of these wildflowers were planted years ago, if you can believe it. They drop seed at the end of the season and then come back year after year. The best time to plant wildflowers here in the low desert is during the month of October. You sprinkle the seeds, and if we have abundant winter rains, that's about all you have to do. And the best part, the next year and in following years, the seeds will sprout and grow all on their own. And finally, the last of March's favorite 5 is borage. This is an herb that I have grown to love the more that I've used it. I first started planting borage several years ago. I knew that the bees loved it, but other than that, I wasn't sure what to do with this big plant. The more I've grown borage, the more I realize all of the amazing things that it does. I planted this borage from seed back in October. Once you plant borage in your garden, it usually will come back year after year. You'll see those little seedlings popping up in the spots where you had borage planted. So why do I love growing borage so much? Here are some of the reasons. It's edible. The flowers have a delicious cucumber-like flavor. Use it as a chop and drop mulch, add it to your compost, or make a liquid fertilizer similar to comfrey. They're in the same family. Borage is an excellent companion plant for tomatoes, cabbage, and strawberries. If you hang out by borage long enough, you're going to see bees. They love it. It's always a good day for my chickens when they get to have some borage. Just because it doesn't make the March favorite 5 doesn't mean we're not growing lots of other delicious vegetables. Peas, cabbage, cauliflower, celery, they're all being harvested this month. This month I'm planting beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, squash, and lots of zinnias. What are you planting in your garden? Thank you so much for watching.